Hello, crafting friends. It's Doreen DeSivas from It Begins with Ink and Paper, and welcome to Funfold Friday. Thank you so much for joining me tonight. It's just hard to believe that we are almost to the end of November and that Thanksgiving is this week. This year is just going by too quickly, I think. Well, we are here for week 4 of Simply Stamping Sunday. It is week 4 of using the Ornamental Christmas set, and I am ready to go, and I hope you are too. So I have my cheat sheet right here, so I'll remember all of the measurements. So tonight's focus is fun folds, and my favorite. So this is our first fun fold that we're doing. This has a little flap here, and then we open it like this. Super, super simple to make. You just have to make sure you tuck this flap under this to keep it closed. So let's get started. All right, so what we have for measurement for paper is I'm using a 4 1/4 by 11 inch basic white thick cardstock. I have scored it at 1 3/8 and 6 3/4. And like always, the measurements will be in the comments when I'm finished with the live, and then they will be also on my YouTube channel in the description. So you don't have to, if I'm going too fast, you don't have to worry. Okay, so I folded those on the score line. On the score lines, you can see that this piece just goes over this slightly a little bit. All right, you need 2 pieces of 4x4 pieces of designer series paper. I've chosen 2 from the paper that goes along with this stamp set. I'm not using any gold paper to go beneath this. I am on the trees, but I thought this will be fine. I'm going to stamp Season's Greetings on the inside. So we'll ink that up, and I'm just going to stamp right in the middle. There we go. We'll stamp our other image afterwards. We're just going to finish putting in that second piece of 4x4 paper. This design here is, boy, it's hard to pick, but this is probably one of my favorites out of the designer series paper. I just love the pattern so much. So there we go there. And then we need 2 more pieces of this, and this measures 1 1/8 by 4 inches. So one's going to go on the inside and one is going to go on the outside. So we'll just add our adhesive. There we go. And then we have one to go on the outside. So pretty much our card is made now. We just need to do our stamping and get our greeting on, and we're ready to go. Now I want to show you. So this is just a 2.5 by 2.5 inch square. This is 2 3/4 by 2 3/4. And I just want to show you the difference when I could do that as just a square, or like I did, turn it around and make it a diamond. And I think the diamond, especially when you're doing simple stamping, really just adds more character to the card and more interest. So we're going to be stamping on this in that way. And I'm just going to turn over my cheat sheet, line that up, and we'll start stamping our trees. So I'm going to start in the middle to make my highest tree. So I'm just going to turn that so I can make sure it's lined up correctly there, middle. And then I'm going to put a tree to the side. They're going to overlap a little bit. That's okay. And then we'll do this one. There we go. So we have our 3 trees. Let me just close that for a moment. And then I'm going to put some stars on the top of them using the Daffodil Delight. Kind of use the same color pattern all month. And there we go. That star's a little off, but that's okay. It's a handmade card. It's okay if something is not perfect. Okay, so now, let me just move that out of the way because I'm going to need it again. We're going to put our paper onto this piece of gold. There we go. And I'm going to use some dimensionals. So when this goes on, I want this, so it's hitting still on the designer series paper, and it's even here. So I don't want any dimensionals down here. So with that said, let me just put my first one on, go right about here, and I am just going to put my dimensionals to hold it in place. There we go. That should be enough. I love the 4th week when we create fun folds because you know how I feel. I love fun folds. I just think when you make a fun fold, it looks like you've taken extra time and care with the card, and people just appreciate that. Bottom and the side. There we go. So this is just going to go under that. I probably didn't put it over far enough. Oh, I think I need one more dimensional. That's my problem. So let's grab my tool, and I'm going to take the top off of it and take this dimensional and just put it right there, and then one right next to it. See if that will keep it down a little more. There we go. Much better. Those dimensionals are needed to keep it down. Okay, so now let's stamp our greeting. So I have here a piece of basic white that measures 3 1/4 by 2 1/4, and I have a 3/8 wide piece of the gold that I'm going to put under it. Hi Bonnie, thanks for joining the live tonight. So I'm going to use this set I've been using from the Delicate Pines. I just love it, and it's just the perfect size for a smaller wish. So what I'm going to do is just put some adhesive right down the middle, and I am going to put this, I don't want a ton of gold showing, and then I'm just going to take my scissors and trim this so it's even on both sides. There we go. So on this side, I'm going to add some adhesive. This side, I'm going to add a glue dot. And then I'm just going to put this right across the front, making sure it's straight. And there we go. Our first fun fold of the night is all done. So let me just There we go. All right, let's get going on our next fun fold. Just get that under. Oh, it's getting caught in the paper underneath. That's the problem. Okay, we're going to put that aside, and we're going to go to fun fold number 2. All right, so this is this fun fold. Might not look like much, but it's a pocket card, and so it comes out looking like that. And this is a fun card. I really like it. There, I like it so that just a little bit of the white is showing. Okay, let's talk about what you need for this. You are going to need a piece of basic black cardstock that measures 5.5 by 7, and I'm going to score it at 4 1/4. So let's just fold that and give it a nice burnish. There we go. All right. We then need, let's just go through some things. I didn't have time to cut something out of this, and so I'm going against my best judgment and using the whole layer without taking something out, but that's kind of how my day went today. So this piece of gold foil measures 3 3/4 by 4 3/4, and this piece of basic white measures 3.5 by 4.5, and so this is going to fit nicely right on this piece. Then I have just a piece that's going to go on the front, and this piece measures 2.5 by 5 1/4. So we're going to put this on first. We need to put some of our paper in, especially on the inside especially just before I put some tape on it to hold it in place. At least that's how I like to do it. Okay, so that's going on to the front. And then we need a piece of designer series paper that measures, it's on the back, just a second, 1.5 by 4. And then I have a piece of gold that measures 1 3/4 by 4 1/4. And this is going to go right on. So hi Lynn, thanks for joining. And hello Joyce. So this is just going to spotlight this piece right in the center of this piece on the front. So the designer series paper is definitely the star here, and I am just playing with it to give you a beautiful view of it. Okay, there we go. On this piece of paper, I already gave you the measurements for those. I have a piece of designer series paper that measures 1 by 4 1/4. 4.5, it's the length of that. So I'm going to be putting this all the way over to the edge. Usually I leave a little piece showing, but in this card, I'm covering up that whole edge. Okay, there we go. Now I'm going to do some stamping on this. I wanted my paper on that first so that I know exactly where I can stamp. So I'm going to start with that tree stamp and the black ink. And I'm going to stamp my tree here all the way to the left. There we go. That looks great. And I'm going to stamp the greeting towards the top. And I'm going to add to the top. So, there we go. Now this can go on the piece of gold. Like I said before, die cut something out. Even if you don't know what you want, die cut a piece that you can layer something on. That way you're not wasting the gold underneath like I am right now. Okay, so we've got that on. That piece is all done. Okay, now for this, we're going to use some tearing tape. I want to use the tearing tape because I know it's really sturdy, and I'm going to want to keep this very closed. So I'm going to put this right over to the edge because I want enough room for my little slider piece that's going in. Okay, there we go. And I just like to burnish that down so I know it's down, and then it makes it really easy to just peel it off. All right, so this is going to close, and this is going to slide right inside. And there we go. So now I have a piece of basic white that measures 1.5 by 2 1/4, and a piece of gold foil that measures 1 5/8 by 2 3/8. And so I am going to stamp Season's Greeting, 'Tis the Season, on this white panel. Just going to put it right in the middle. There we go. And a little bit over to the right to fit that fancy S. I'm going to put this onto the piece of gold. And then I am going to want this to be up a little bit. So I'm going to put some dimensionals right on this side. So that should do it. And let me place that down. And there we have our second fun fold of the night. Isn't that fun? There we go. So let me put those aside. And our final fun fold of the night is a little more complicated fun fold, but it's still very easy to make. So here is what it looks like. And that's what it looks like when it stands. Let me, just like that. And that is the front of it. Now, I didn't stamp anything on the inside, and I was thinking for this one I want to stamp something on the inside. So I am going to stamp my tree again. I want to go over more to the left so that when the card folds, you still will be able to see it when you open it up, but not when it's folded. So there's my tree. I'm going to do the star on the top. Now, I cut this 4 1/8, and I did that is I want it to have the same 1/8 measurements as the rest of the card does. So I didn't want this to have such a bigger piece to it. So then I'm going to take my Warmest Winter Wishes, and I'm going to put this right here because then it won't show. And I like that much better than I do on the inside. I have to go back and stamp that. All right, so let's get started with this part. We still have more stamping to do, but we'll do that in a minute. So we need a piece of basic black cardstock that measures 5.5 by 8.25. So you're going to be taking a 1/4 inch off of one of these ends. And you are going to score this at 1/2 inch, at 2 inches, at 2.5 inches, and 4 inches. And that will leave you a 4.25 piece over on this side. So let's start folding those score lines. And this is going to fold like this. And then it will fold flat. Once it's glued into place, it will fold flat like that. So I'm just going to make sure I give that another little good burnishing. Okay, so the first thing I want to do is I want to get this in because it is going to, when I put this in, this piece is going to go over that tree just a little bit. So I want to get this one in first because that's going to, let's put it in like this. There we go. So that's our inside of the card. Now, we are going to be decorating this panel, this panel, and this panel. So I have my papers right here. So for the designer series paper, you need 2 pieces that measure 1.25 by 5.25. And then you need 2 pieces of gold that measure 1 3/8 by 5 3/8. And then you need 1 to fit this middle piece right here that measures 3/8 by 5 3/8. So let's get that part all on. I'm going to be adding another piece of tearing tape to this piece here because that's going to hold it all together. So I want to use a really strong adhesive for that. I'm going to put these pieces on the gold foil. There's one. Here's the second. There we go. And then I'm going to just be adding some adhesive going right down here. So we'll start with that middle piece. The thing I love most about this this suite is just the beauty of the gold, the black, and the white together. It's just so elegant, and it just makes for beautiful. So there we have that. I'm going to just burnish that a little bit, make it easier to come off. And I don't have to fold this around to get it like that. I can just fold it just like that, close the card, and our fun fold is made. Pretty cool, huh? All right, now let's finish the rest of it. Okay, I think I lost my little pieces here. They must have fallen off, so we will just cut some more since I don't see them. I must have dropped them or something as I was bringing it over. All right, so we have this beautiful piece of designer series paper we're using for the front of the card. Right here, it measures, let's just get, got one of those. It measures 2.5 by 2.5, and this piece of black measures 2 5/8 by 2 5/8. So we're just going to put that right on the front here. Line that up, and it's going to go on the front of this piece of basic white that measures 4 1/8 by 5 3/8. Excuse me, 4 1/4 by 2 3/4. I typed that in wrong. I'll have to fix that before I post. Okay, so that's going to go on there like that. And then I'm going to take my Season's Greetings and I'm going to stamp here at the bottom. And then I'm going to take this piece. I'm not a fan of just leaving it blank. I want it to all coordinate together. So I'm just adding that little piece of gold right across the front, which is just going to help coordinate everything. All right, and then this is going to go on our basic black, which is 2 which is 4 3/4 by 3 1/4. All right, so I'm just going to center that here. And now I just need 2 more ornaments from the paper. So I really want this one here. So I'm cutting out 2 gold and 1 white. And I'm just seeing which ones are close to the edge. I cut off the little hook at the top. I didn't like how that looked. And so this one's perfect because the hook is kind of cut off anyway. So I'm just using my paper snips to cut around. I'm trying to keep the white embossed edge as an edge, not the gold. And that's easy to do because I can cut right along the white piece. And then, like I said, I'm just cutting off that little hook there. Does not take long to cut these out. You have to hand cut these because there's no die to use. But I hadn't used these yet this month, so I thought that would be this would be a great way to use this paper. The paper itself, I find it's like so bold with all those ornaments and all the gold. So I haven't decided how to use it on its own. So that's why I decided to. Okay, so here's how we're going to put these on. I'm going to use dimensionals on this piece. So let me just grab those. I only need 2. And I'm just going to use adhesive on these pieces. And I'm not going to push these down yet. So I want to get them even. So let me start with this one. I'm going to put this one right about here. And then I'm going to put this one, try to even it, but a little bit higher. And then this one's going to go right in the middle, overlapping them a little bit. And I like how this one in particular has a little tree on it, just like the tree I put on the inside. So I really liked that. And I'm just going to kind of go in the middle there. So this is what our front piece looks like up close. Now, this is going to go on centered. And so I am going to add some more of the Terran tape. And I'm going to add it to this because it's going to be really hard to determine exactly where it goes on there. So I'm going to go about a 1/2 inch, a little less than a 1/2 inch, maybe 3/8 of an inch on both ends, because that will be enough to hold it. And I'm going to take that off. And then all I need to do is center this how I'd like it to be. So on the front of the card, there we go. And then I can just press down on that Terran tape and it's going to hold it right in place like that. So that's what it looks like. This is what it's going to look like when it's standing. This is such a fun fold. And this is what it will look like when it's closed. All right, so let's look at the fun folds we made tonight. Okay, this was our first fun fold. Get everything out of the way. This was our second fun fold. And this was our third fun fold. So what do you think? Do you have a favorite? I love them all. I really love this one. I love them all. But I just think this one's a little different than the other ones, a little more involved. But, so, one more week. Next week is going to be a little different because I'm going to bring in some other elements of this suite to show you what the whole suite can do. I've been focusing on just the stamps and the designer series paper, but I really want to focus on some of the other things that make this suite unique and special. So I'm still going to try to have easy cards, but I am going to use some of the other embellishments and things that come with it. So be ready for that. That will be week 5 of this month. And be watching my Facebook page this week so you can help me plan Fun Fold Friday. I have some slides that will start going out. You'll have 12 hours to vote. And if you're watching me on YouTube, head over to at It Begins with Ink and Paper on Facebook and join in the voting as well. I hope you all have a great week and a fabulous Thanksgiving. And that's it for tonight. Good night, everybody.